Hit start streaming. I think that's how it works. Yeah, that's how it works. Okay. We're just going to go like that. I'm not even going to worry about trying to change any settings or anything like that. Okay, so if this works correctly, I don't know if it's going to work correctly or not. If you're gonna, anybody's going to see my face or not when it's on here, but oh well. So I thought it'd be fun for me. I don't know who's going to watch this or who's going to even care, but I thought it'd be fun just to kind of go over tomorrow's NFL slate, at least for Sunday, for daily fantasy, because we've been super bad at it, and I just thought it'd be fun just to kind of go over the games in my head, not in my head, but talk it out and kind of see, kind of make a note here. I had a notepad up. I guess I don't have that notepad up any longer, just to kind of keep an eye out on some names. Just put the names in, but Sports Card Walt, the Card Maniac over here. I don't know. Anybody's gonna watch this? I don't know. Who cares, right? Just gonna talk this out. So I just play a little bit of daily fantasy every Sunday for football. It's more fun. Kind of just put Red Zone channel on and just kind of, spend about $10 or so. Nothing crazy, just to make it a little bit more fun to watch the games. I used to do kind of okay, like pandemic right before the pandemic, maybe a little bit post pandemic. But you know, it's super. It's almost like poker, right? Like it's just you have to put in a ton of volume to really have success. Unlike poker, like daily fantasy, multi uh, player contests are just you have to. A lot of them are going to be using all these utilities and all these tools to kind of spit out like all these random lineups. Not random, but just like a lot of these generated lineups for you. So the person like me that's just making lineups up on the fly, it's just going to be near impossible to do very well. And it's very top heavy, very very top heavy for the contest. You can finish, like these like the $3. This $3 one where like first place is $100,000, but like 10th place might be $500 or something like that. Like it's crazy how top heavy they are. A little bit different from like poker. At least in poker, like it's kind of spread out a little bit more across, um, but not so much in fantasy sports. It's very very top heavy, so it's very impossible for just some Joe Schmo to come in here and create like five lineups and then hope to hit. It has probably happened, I'm sure, like every once in a while, someone will get really, really lucky. Not me, but I haven't really had much luck. Like I was having okay luck with it before the pandemic. After the pandemic, just it's just gotten a lot harder as more people are using more tools. The amount of points that you need to really, like, not only cash but like finish high, just keeps growing and growing because of all these tools that are at people's disposals. So I don't know. But anyways, I figured it would be fun just kind of go over tomorrow's slate. So right now I don't have any lineups yet. I figured it'd be fun just to kind of oops, that's not what we want to do. Yeah. Um I just was curious just to see maybe just do one draft, just kind of see and go over uh who we might want to select for tomorrow. Um yeah, let's just see what's going on. Oops. As we go here. So we got let's just jump into I haven't got a ton of contests ready to go, but I don't know, let's kind of just see what we have and kind of just talk it out on a stream instead of in my head and see what we can come up with. So um I look, I have no I enjoy this, but I have, I'm not going to be doing a super deep dive into what's the weather going to be like. I mean, you kind of know if it's going to be bad weather, but what's the weather? How does this team do on the road historically? How does this player do at home historically? Like, I just don't have the time or the wherewithal to kind of go into that. It's really just kind of based off just general. That's probably maybe why I don't do very well. Um, but it served me okay in the past. Like I would like get, you know, I try to put in like 10, 15. No, this is very small, bare bones stuff here. Just like put 10, 15 bucks like the beginning of the season, try to make it last for as long as possible. Now we're into week three, and pretty much the first 2 weeks have been goose eggs for the most part. So yeah, just making like 5 or 6 lineups again, just to make it fun to watch Sunday Ticket. This is not like some, you know, big operation. Not going to be throwing 50, 100 lineups into stuff. But so let's kind of just see. Quarterbacks for tomorrow. Lamar obviously is going to be the one that costs the most. I don't really like taking the players that cost the most unless it's like a super obvious play. Um, Again, this is just going to be my 2 cents. That's why these videos are called my 2 cents. But yeah, so we got Lamar Jackson on the road against Dallas. It's indoor stadium, so weather doesn't affect. I would think Dallas is going to bounce back defensively after such a god awful showing last week against the Saints. That would be my first thought. Like Dallas's defense should come prepared a lot more than they were last week. Um, but I mean, Lamar. At the end of the day, Lamar's still going to get his stuff right. He's. It's not like he's going to have a super bad game. I don't know if he's going to have like a 30-point game. That's kind of like the standard of like excellence, I guess. I think for quarterbacks in daily fantasy, is can you have that? Like Kyler had 29 points last week. Can you have that 30 plus game? That's like that will basically help you, win a lot of leagues, I guess, or not leagues, but contests. Um, so I don't know. Lamar Jackson's probably one of those guys. Is why he cost them the most. Jamal. Jalen Hurts at Saints. I don't like Hurts as much because it's without AJ Brown. I think you take away that big of a weapon from a guy that hurts that isn't like I don't know. He's been in the league now for 4 or 5 years now, 4 or 5 years, starting for 4 years, I guess, or 3.5 years. He to me still needs like as many weapons as possible. Like he's not that kind of guy that's really going to help elevate like a marginal player. Like you see a guy like Josh Allen or Mahomes or maybe even excuse me, maybe even I mean I don't know, maybe a couple other guys, but where they can kind of take like what's there, like Burrow can take a rookie fourth round wide receiver and like make him relevant because of just how good a player is. But I don't think Hurts is at the stage where he can take like a sort of like a lesser guy and then like they're going to do really well. So Hurts needs as many weapons as possible. So I don't really like playing Hurts either. Stroud is a possibility at Minnesota again indoors. Weather's not going to affect. Stroud plays indoors anyway. Kyler, I feel like a lot of people are going to take Kyler Murray tomorrow, based off last week, just based off the general flow of things. Detroit's defense has had some issues, but at the end of the day, they still have Aiden Hutchinson, and historically, either struggled or their O line has struggled against teams that can pass rush as well as Detroit can. So it's probably not the worst play to make. I kind of like Anthony Richardson tomorrow just because they're home. He's always going to play better at home than on the road. Um, the Bears' defense is okay, but again, we have Caleb Williams going on the road. So how many times is that defense going to be put in a bad spot? Richardson might get some shorter fields. I kind of like Anthony Richardson. I would probably plug him into a lineup. Actually, we'll just take this out and just kind of go over the rest of these teams. I don't know. Dak at home against the Ravens again. Baltimore's defense is fairly okay. Dak's had some struggles. It's only been 2 weeks, so I mean, he's still got CD Lamb. I'm not really a big fan of Dak. Jared Goff at Arizona. Um, Seems like a decent play too, just because Arizona's defense is solid. They were last week, but they're not like a great defense. And Detroit still has all those weapons: Gibbs and Montgomery and Laporta and Jamison Williams. I'm on Ross St. Brown, so I think any week, especially in a dome stadium, like Detroit plays in on dome as well. Goff probably wouldn't be that bad of a choice. Tua's hurt. Baker's been super solid the first 2 weeks at home against Denver. Again, Denver's defense isn't completely terrible, but again, we're gonna have Bo Nix going in Tampa, rookie quarterback. Their defense or their I think their defense is just gonna get put in such a bad shape that Baker's gonna have some short fields to work with as well. So I think Baker's probably decent play to stack with Evans and uh, Godwin. That's actually probably going to be one. But again, I think sometimes feels like everybody's probably going to do the same thing. I probably wouldn't mind doing a stack of Mayfield tomorrow. Jordan Love probably isn't going to play. Brock Purdy at Rams. I mean, it just seemed to be such a different team without Christian McCarthy. Again, I feel like Purdy's another one of those guys that he's a good quarterback, but I feel like he needs as many weapons as he can get around him. And I know they have that kid Mason. I don't know. At Rams, the Rams defense is just not nearly as good as they were, obviously without Aaron Donald. It's probably wouldn't be that terrible to stack Purdy with you know, Kittle or the two wide receivers, Samuel, Debo, and what's his name? Brandon Ayuk. Let's see, Derek Carr at home against the Eagles. Carr's been amazing. Philly's defense should eventually come around. I think they would probably play a little bit better. They weren't terrible against the Falcons on Monday night. It's just that last drive, the last drive where they just laid down, or whatever you want to call it. Um, Carr again. It's just that putting Carr in a lineup with Kamara and what's that guy's name? Shaheed probably wouldn't be that bad either. Stafford, I don't like Stafford. Herbert's questionable. Okay, and then we're getting to I mean, I don't know. Trying to pick like a cheap quarterback has been really tough because they're just not like Sam Darnold at Houston. Houston's defense is really good, and I think Minnesota is missing Addison. Jefferson will play. I don't think they have Jordan Addison. He's out. Yeah, I don't know. They still don't have Hawkinson either. I don't think. Yeah, he's out too. I don't know if I like Laporta at all tomorrow. Let's see what else we got here. Trying to think of a player to take that's cheap enough where you can just stack that quarterback with a ton of talent. But again, like Daniel Jones at Cleveland, that's bad. Will Levis at home against Green Bay. I mean, it's probably okay, but I mean, how many points can you realistically expect out of Will Levis? 15, 16. You want your quarterbacks to get you like at least 20 points. And all these guys, yeah. So just for the heck of it, let's just put yeah, why not? Let's put Baker. So let's do Baker. Then we would take Baker with. Hey, Debo's out. Yes, that's gonna be another thing to keep an eye on. So Cooper Cup's out. Um, Debo's out. So they don't have Debo or McCaffrey. Interesting. Okay, that makes you know. I would think that would help a guy like Ayuk. I think if I remember correctly, last year I don't know if you can look at last year's. I guess you can't look at last year's game log. If I remember correctly, he performed pretty well when when Debo was out last year. Might not be a bad play to make, but okay. So yeah, we knew Brown was out, Cup's out. All right, so we're definitely gonna try. Let's just for the heck of this stream, let's put. I just let's put Godwin. I don't know why Godwin's 6,500 to me. It seems like a steal or a bargain. Evans. For tight end, I think is Otten. Yeah. Hasn't really done much this year. I don't take Otten. Generally, Rashad White's been okay. He's been just 22nd ranked in running backs. I mean, eventually you would think he's going to have a better game. He's been brutal so far this year. We're playing at home against Denver. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Let's just play around with this for the heck of it. Running backs. It's hard to take Henry. It really is. He's not going to get those monster 30 carry touches anymore, but he's still going to be productive. It's just, um, yeah, someone that's going to cost the most for that much. I don't know if I like taking Dobbins at Pittsburgh. I don't really like taking a guy who's been on fire, but doesn't have, has a lot of home runs. I mean, if you take out the 61-yard touchdown in week one, he would have been like 9 for 60. I think he had another run too that was like long. So he's been very fortunate to break out these long touchdown runs that have helped him because he's not doing a whole lot of catching. He's not getting touches that way, but just it looks like Kenneth Walker's doubtful at home against Miami, and Miami doesn't have Tua, so I actually don't mind playing Charbonnet. Wouldn't be too bad. Let's try to put him in here. We have to be careful though with the salaries here. We can't just take all great players. If anybody down here that we could use. Madison so far, yeah, he's not gonna do much. Hubbard does get decent amount of touches. Interesting to see what happens without Bryce Young. At Las Vegas, I don't know. But interesting. Justice Hill has been getting some targets out of the backfield. He had a lot of targets in week one, not so much in week two. That would be a cheap option. I'm trying to think who else would play. I heard Akers. Why is everyone picking up Akers? Oh, because Minkle was doubt. Minkle? No, not Minkle. Mixon. Ah, okay. That's why. Interesting. Okay. We'll put Akers in there. All right. How much we have left? 48-25. So we need a defense. Let's see what kind of defense we would want to take. That will help raise our average remaining salary. Browns, that seems like the obvious choice. Browns at home against Daniel Jones. The Raiders will not get Bryce Young. They'll get Andy Dalton. Charge. I feel like playing Seattle against Miami. That team's just going to be struggling, I think, without Tua. Any sleepers down here? Indy against Caleb Williams also feels like a somewhat of a sneaky pick to do. I don't know. Or Tampa Bay against Bo Nix. That's interesting. Tampa Bay. It's a big Tampa Bay. Well, the problem here sometimes as I look at it is we're taking Baker, Godwin, and Evans. But I don't know, like, how many points is this game going to be? And so far this year, there hasn't been a whole lot of points anyway. Like, we want to take the Bucks defense, but if this is a game, like, if Denver can't score, it's not going to be a shootout. I don't know if I'm psyching myself out by thinking that way. I want to take the Tampa Bay defense if the game's like, I don't know, 21-10, 24-10, 24-17, 24. How many points are we expecting? So Mayfield, first game was a bit of a sort of a shootout, but week one's always weird. Last week was a low scoring game. He still had 20 fantasy points. I don't know. When I think about this, it's so, yeah, and that was benefited by a rushing touchdown too, which isn't going to happen every week. So really, you take that rushing touchdown out of the equation, and he only had like 13 points. So it's very easy to want to take a stack with two solid receivers, and I wouldn't mind just still taking Godwin because he's not that expensive. Just going to get a lot of targets, but I actually don't want to take Baker now. I don't want to take Evans. But I don't mind taking the Buccaneers defense. So then we switch this to maybe a guy like Richardson, and then we want to pair him with his wide receiver, not Pittman. Questionable anyway. Although I think he'll play. But the other kid, the second year kid, Pierce, yeah. And that will free up some salary to pick a good flex player. Another wide receiver. So, okay. So we have 6,100. Our tight end should be fairly cheap compared to the rest. McBride. I like taking McBride last year, but now that Marvin Harris, now that they have like a legit wide receiver, I kind of like to think that McBride's is not going to get as many targets as he normally would have last year. Late last year he was insane because he was the only player on the team with talent as a receiver. Now obviously that's changed a bit. So Laporta is like super due. Like, I mean, but he's going to cost $6,000 though. That's crazy. I think I will definitely have some lineups tomorrow that will include Laporta. Hawkinson's out. Kittle's out. Man, that's tough. So Brock Purdy doesn't have George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, or Debo Samuel. There's got to be a bunch of targets for Ayuk, and I'm trying to think who their other receiver is. Would be Jennings. Okay. That might be something to look into too. Juwan Jennings. I don't know. They might have some problems scoring as well. All right. Let's see here. Let's get back out of that and back to games. Wide receiver. Who do we want at wide receiver for this lineup? Actually, let's go back to tight end. If we don't take Bowers has come on strong so far this year. And they're playing a really bad Carolina team. Seems like not a bad choice. Lively broke out in the first game, didn't do anything week 2. Ferguson is back after week 1. Schultz is always going to be an interesting choice as well. I remove. No con. I mean, all these guys are pretty interchangeable. Noah Fant. So, yeah, then these guys are get kind of rough week for tight ends. No Hawkinson, no Kittle, no Joku. I think we're gonna take Parkinson like that. Really hard sometimes to. All right, we'll go with Bowers. He's costly, but he's gonna get so many targets. Okay, so we got a wide receiver spot and a flex spot. 6,450. I guess the one thing to here to just go to the flex position. Is there anybody that we see that is feels like a must play? Anybody here that feels like an absolute must play? CD Lamb would cost the most. We see CD Lamb going for like some crazy 3 touchdown game. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill. I don't know what to expect from him. I don't think he's ever done well without Tua as a Dolphin. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Saquon, Devonta Adams. Mara just went nuts last week. Nico Hollins has been absolutely. It's hard not to take him. We're going to take Nico. Actually, let's put Nico in the wide receiver spot. That gives us a flex position. Anybody here? We can take Singletary. So, going up against Pitts, Cleveland, no thanks. Pickens isn't going to get enough targets with Justin Fields as his quarterback. Swift's been terrible. Najee is going to get a bunch of carries as always, but if he doesn't find the end zone, Dobbs actually might like Dobbs. Zamir White. These guys. Everybody was high on Javonte Williams preseason. He's going to get a lot of, yeah, the thing with Javonte, he's going to get a lot of targets because Bo Nix is just going to check down and check down and check down again. So he's going to get those 10-point games but he's not going to run the ball very well. But he's going to get some targets out of the backfield. This could be anybody. Yeah, it feels like probably if I did the lineup like this, we would definitely not take Mostert. He's doubtful. Singletary at Cleveland feels terrible. Pickens without a good quarterback throwing him the ball feels terrible. Swift has been bad all year. Doesn't mean he can't do anything this week, but my friend, we have DeAndre Swift on our fantasy football team, and we just have no faith. Najee, it's either Najee or Dobbs. I guess we will take. So Dobbs was getting the ball a lot because of Malik Willis. Targeted only 3 times though. That was at home. We'll lean on the player to playing at home. All right, so that's the lineup we came up with. This won't be the only lineup we do. I just want to do a little live stream to talk out some stuff. I'm gonna stop the live stream here in a few minutes. That's what we got. I mean, you would hope Richardson can somehow break out and get like 25 points. Charbonnet can get like 20. Akers, Godwin. I mean, we don't really have to take Godwin here since we're not taking Baker. We don't have to take. Oh, I have Evans. I took the wrong. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want Evans. Okay, I screwed up. This is why we talk things out. We don't want Evans. We want Collins. There we go. All right, that looks better. Okay. So, we look at their average fantasy points. So you figured 20, 35. This should be way more because he's going to start. So call it 10. So 45, 70, 90, 115, 130, 138, 142 points. That would definitely give you a cash. It definitely won't win you anything. You have to score over 200 points to finish like top 5 in these big multiplayer contests. And thinking, okay, but how do you get 200 points from this line? So let's like the absolute best case scenario real quick before I end this stream. I don't think anybody watched, but that's okay. I don't care. Let's say Richardson got basically what he got week 1. which means he's going to have to run it in and pass it for a couple of times. Let's say he gets 25 instead of 20. All right, so let's get our calculator out. Trying to find a way that this lineup somehow gets 200 points. Then Charbonnet, who had almost 20 last week as a starter, because week one he didn't start. He had 12 because Kenny Walker III starts at New England on the road. He did get a touchdown rushing. You figured at home against Miami, who is not going to be as potent offensively. Let's say somehow he gets 20. You would need him. You would need him to get 20 points, which is I don't think it would happen, even if he has a good game. Cam Akers, who hasn't started at all, would probably have to rush for about 70 yards. Definitely need to score. You can't turn the ball over like you did last week. Just because he starts doesn't mean he. I mean, I don't know. Mixon is doubtful and Damian Pierce is out. Just because he starts doesn't mean he's going to get all these touches. You would have to hope Akers gets, I mean, I don't know, 15 points, 20 points. He scores, he rushes for, let's say, 60 yards. His average will go down. 60 yards and a touchdown is 12. Add in a couple catches. I mean, he had one receive 20, 13, 14, yeah, 15. Let's call it 15. Let's just say he gets 15 points. Okay. What else we got? Oops. There we go. Godwin, who's been just ridiculous so far this year, 22 and 27. So if he has a game basically his average, you would need him to get that. That's 25 points. All right. Pierce, who way better at home than on the road. Of course, he had that big long touchdown. That's that ridiculous bomb for 60 yards. Last week, he didn't nearly have as big of a long, but he's still going to get targeted because they still don't have Josh Downs, I don't think. But again, I mean, best case, probably 20 points there. But this isn't going to add up. Collins would have to have one of those 30-point games like he did last week. So you're hoping he has, the same exact week as last week. He would need to have that. All right, that's 30. The Bowers kid for Las Vegas, he needs to find the end zone. So if he has one of these games where he finds the end zone, that's somehow 25 points. Okay, that's going to be, and then Najee Harris would have to find the end zone twice. Let's say he somehow scores twice, and he gets you 20 points. See what I mean? And then the Bucks defense, even if they play really, really well, they would have to get a defensive touchdown, which would get 15 or something like that. So that's not even 200 points, and that's how kind of silly it is. So I'll go and find other scenarios of other quarterbacks to play or what have you. Like even this lineup that we just formulated, asking, trying to get that many points seems just crazy. And that's, you're going to have somebody tomorrow that got generated a lineup and you're going to be like, how the heck did they score 205 points that'll win, $10,000 or say, or something like that. And it'll be something like they'll pick Goff and they'll have Laporta and maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then they'll have maybe Akers, somebody cheaper. You have to have one guy that doesn't cost anything have their best game. Just like any other sport when you do DFS, you have to have somebody that costs in the $4,000 range, maybe even the $3,000 range. So guys like Jalen Hyatt somehow, who hasn't done a thing all year. He probably won't play, but you got to hope a Tolbert for Dallas. who hardly ever gets. He got a bunch of targets last week, actually. Like that might be one of those plays where you pick a Jalen Tolbert. Excuse me, somebody who had targets is going to catch the ball, and he'll find the end zone because he's not going to. He's going to score. Jalen Tolbert all year long might have 5 or 6 touchdowns. But you got to pick him tomorrow, and he's got to score you 20 points, right? If you pick Jalen Tolbert, that costs 3,800. If I go, let's take out, let's take out Godwin and plug in Tolbert. Well, now I just freed up $2,700 in salary. Then I can say, okay, maybe I don't take Bowers. I'll take, actually, I do think Bowers is going to do well. Okay, instead of taking Najee Harris, now we can take Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? I mean, Arizona is better defensively, but their cornerbacks aren't. Buda Baker is very good, very very good. But we can take Amon St. Brown. So there you go. So now we switched out Godwin, and that probably feels like this is a better. But again, if Tolbert doesn't do anything, if Akers doesn't do anything, we might cash, but we're never gonna win like anything substantial. But this is like the kind of lineup that you would see win like a bunch of money. Because Anthony Richardson is still a young quarterback. The Bears defense is still it's okay. Anthony Richardson could still have a game like he did last week where he was just bad, right? A lot of interceptions, a lot of bad throws. He might have 10 points. This could be a lineup that gets me like 90 points, 90 or maybe 110 or something like that. But that's the kind of lineup that you'll see that you're trying to figure out. Okay, like in a perfect world, Richardson gets 30 points tomorrow. He just has a crazy game. Scores 2 rushing touchdowns, throws for 2 touchdowns or maybe a touchdown, throws for 250 yards, maybe turns the ball over once. Charbonnet at home against Miami has 100 rushes for 100 with two touchdowns. You're gonna need that. Akers, whatever, Tolbert scores. That 1 week Tolbert scores. You're gonna need that, right? Pierce there's gonna have to be a way where Richardson connects with Pierce on a long, 50-yard touchdown. Collins, who, obviously that'd be one of our stars that we have in this lineup that we know should, but maybe Collins doesn't get the ball that much tomorrow. Maybe it's Tank Dell instead, or maybe it's Stephon Diggs or Dalton Schultz. There's going to be Nico Collins every week, for as great as Nico Collins is not going to do this every single week. Most weeks, sure, but not every single week. And you got to make sure, or not make sure, but you got to hope, that tomorrow isn't those weeks where he just has like 6 catches for 80 yards or 5 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Okay, that's only that's 16 points. It's not going to be enough. And then we have the rookie Bowers. He'll need like everybody has to score. That's just like when you're doing DFS, MLB DFS. Like everybody that you pick has to hit a home run, multiple home runs. And then for fantasy DFS for football, these guys got to score touchdowns. So this isn't like a safe bet strategy, but this is probably like one of these lineups that is more, because I think you would rather have a lineup that could potentially score 200 points than just formulate a lineup that can probably get like 115, 120 that will win you a couple bucks. So we'll have to see. It'll be fun. Big slate tomorrow, 7 games early and 5 games late, I think. But this was cool just to talk this out with you guys. And we'll see you guys next time. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, X, at TheCardManiac, where I like to go out and drive around in my spare time for looking for trading cards, so you guys don't have to waste your time. I waste my time. We'll see you guys next time. That's saying time too many times. See ya.